Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, June 10th, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. If you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at Pickdawgz.com. I'm running a daily $15 MLB best bet, so check it out at Pickdawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Friday, June 10th. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the New York Yankees. We're going to see Wade Miley and Luis Severino on the mound for this one. Now, I do think the Yankees are the better play in this one on the run line. The way Wade Miley looked last time out does worry me quite a bit, giving up 6 hits and 3 runs to the Arizona Diamondbacks. And the Diamondbacks are in the bottom 10 in team OPS against lefties this season. And the Yankees, they're number 2 in isolated power against lefties this year. So I do think Miley is going to be facing his toughest matchup of the season, especially at a hitter-friendly ballpark like Yankee Stadium. And on the other side, Luis Severino hasn't given up much lately. He did struggle quite a bit at Tropicana Field, but other than that start on May 29th, he's been pitching really well in the last month, including his most recent start on June 4th against the Tigers, a 3-0 win there for the Yankees. Severino went 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, and only 1 hit allowed in that one. Severino's pitching well. The Yankees bats, although a little bit inconsistent in that Twins series, I still think they're going to come back strong here at Yankee Stadium, get to Wade Miley in this Cubs bullpen. I'm going to lay the run line here with the home team New York Yankees. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. We're going to see Zach Gallen and Kyle Gibson on the mound for this one. Pretty good pitching matchup in my opinion. Although Kyle Gibson's ERA is above 4, I don't think he's pitching that badly this year. You look at his last outing, did give up 5 earned runs against the Angels, but the Phillies were able to win that ball game in the end. And overall, Gibson has given up 2 runs or less in 3 of his last 4 starts, which is what you like to see. And he's faced some tough lineups in that stretch. Padres, Braves, and Giants. Not facing nearly as tough a lineup here with the Diamondbacks. And the Phillies, they're just winning ball games lately. Ever since they fired Joe Girardi, this team looks completely different. Both sides of the ball, the offense is getting it done. The bullpen has actually sharpened up quite a bit. The starting pitching has been good. And Zach Gallen, although, 2.4 ERA on the year, we have seen recently that he has gotten hit a little bit at times. Last outing giving up a home run to the Pirates in 6 innings. He's given up at least 1 home run in 4 of his last 5 starts. And you know what? The Diamondbacks lineup has been a little bit inconsistent lately. They kind of had a surge in the middle of May, the beginning to middle of May, offensively. In that Reds series, although they got the win on Thursday afternoon, wasn't necessarily impressed with their performances offensively at a very hitter-friendly ballpark. So I'm going to take the Philadelphia Phillies in this spot on the money line. Not my favorite play on the board, but I think the price is just too good to pass up with the much hotter team. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Washington Nationals. We're going to see Aaron Ashby and Eric Fedde on the mound for this one. Now, Eric Fedde is a guy that I have to fade in this spot yet again. He's really struggling in his last 2 outings. He pitched 4 2/3 at Cincinnati against the Reds, giving up 7 hits and 4 earned runs. Previous start, couldn't even make it through the 2nd inning. Only an inning and a third against the Mets, giving up 8 hits and 6 earned runs. He's given up 1 home run in 3 of his last 5 starts. The strikeout numbers have plummeted. Only 1 strikeout in his last 2 outings combined. And he's facing a Milwaukee lineup that is in the top 5 right now, number 3 overall in isolated power against right-handed pitching. I do think Fedde, the second time around facing this Brewers lineup, not a spot that I would want to be in with the Nationals. And Washington overall has struggled against left-handed pitching. Certainly the power numbers have completely dropped off for Washington against lefties this season, where they're ranked near the bottom, dead last in the league in isolated power against lefties. So I think the Brewers, you have to lay a decent price here because they are the team with the much better record, but I think it's worth it on the road. I'm going to take the Brewers here on the money line. Next up, we see the Oakland Athletics taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to see Paul Blackburn and Tristan McKenzie on the mound here. Now, this is going to be quite the contrarian play, in my opinion. You see 2 pitchers with pretty good ERAs. Blackburn 2.62, Tristan McKenzie 3.1. But these are also pitchers that are kind of in the wrong direction. You look at Paul Blackburn in his last 2 outings against the Astros and the Red Sox. It's been 10 2/3 total innings, 12 hits, 8 earned runs, and 2 home runs allowed in that stretch. So he is not pitching well as of late. On the other side, Tristan McKenzie was off to a really good start, but in his last outing, 7 innings, 3 hits, all 3 of those hits were home runs, 5 earned runs, and 3 walks. The previous start, 2 home runs allowed, so he's given up at least 1 homer in each of his last 4 starts, and in total, that's been 8 home runs in his last 4 outings. So I do think both teams are going to be able to get on the board early in this spot. And because of these pitchers' ERAs, add to the fact that the Oakland A's, not the strongest offensive team to begin with, we're seeing a very low total here, but I think this total is a little bit too low. I'm going to take the over here. We know the Guardians can hit right-handed pitching very well. I think they'll do most of the scoring, but I also think the A's can find a couple long balls on Tristan McKenzie in this spot. We know the Oakland A's have one of the worst bullpens in baseball, so if this game is just a couple of runs short of that over in the late innings, I think the Guardians will be able to find a few runs via the bullpen. So don't want to lay that kind of price with Cleveland, minus 175 right now, but I will take the over in the Oakland-Cleveland game. Next up, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Detroit Tigers. Jose Barrios and Elvin Rodriguez on the mound here. Two pitchers that have struggled in 2022, but the thing with Jose Barrios is he's been a winner this season. The Blue Jays offense has supported him in most games. In his last 4 starts, the Blue Jays have won 3 of those 4 games, and Barrios is coming off his best outing of the season, in my opinion. He went 7 innings, only giving up 2 earned runs and 13 strikeouts against his former club in the Minnesota Twins, and that was a 12-3 Toronto win. And Blue Jays are going to be facing Elvin Rodriguez here, who I think it was pretty clear he was tipping his pitches last time out. 4 1/3, 11 hits, and 10 earned runs, 4 home runs against the New York Yankees. Usually you don't have a start that bad unless you are tipping your pitches, and a couple people have said that it looked like he was. So, I don't think he'll pitch that poorly in this spot as he sharpens up the way his pitching motion goes. But I still think that the Blue Jays offense is a much better place. The Tigers offense has struggled all season long. Even though Detroit has played well at home this season, I can't take him in this spot. So give me the Blue Jays here on the run line. Next up, we see the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Atlanta Braves. We're going to see Roansy Contreras and Spencer Strider on the mound for this contest. Now, I think this is a good spot to take the under. You look at Roansy Contreras, he's a guy that can miss some bats. He's had struggles at times, but overall this season, he's pitching well for the Pirates. 1.93 ERA, coming off a start where he gave up no earned runs in 5 2/3 innings with 8 strikeouts. And if we know the Atlanta Braves, although their offense is really talented from top to bottom, big names in that lineup, Acuna, Albies, Matt Olson, the list goes on and on. They are number 1 in baseball in strikeout percentage, 26.2% rate against right-handed pitching. They're in the top 5 or top 10 against left-handed pitching as well. They strike out a ton. And with a guy like Contreras that can miss some bats, I do think, strikeouts are very much so inning killers, they call them, as when you get things going, a runner's on base and you strike out, doesn't move the runners up and it doesn't get anything done offensively. So I do think the Braves, although they might, find a few runs here and there, I just think with the fact that Contreras can miss bats, he avoids the big inning. And on the other side, Spencer Strider, we know he can miss some bats. He's got a ton of velocity on his fastball, a 2.76 ERA this season with 49 strikeouts already for the rookie. He's only 23 years of age, and the Pirates are also a team that struggles with striking out. They're in the top 5 in baseball in strikeout percentage against right-handed pitching as well. And even if lefties come out of the bullpen for both of these teams are in the top 10 in strikeout percentage against lefties. We saw Strider get 5 Ks in 4 innings last time out, 7 Ks in 4 1/3 the previous start, 5 Ks in 2 2/3 against the Phillies back on May 25th. This guy can miss bats, and the Pirates lineup that struggled overall against righties, I think are not going to get too much done against Strider in this one. So this total is set way too high in my opinion. I'm going to take the under in the Pirates-Braves. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Kansas City Royals. Bruce Zimmerman and Jonathan Heasley on the mound for this contest. Now, to me, this is a bring your glove to the ballpark kind of game. Bruce Zimmerman and Jonathan Heasley are 2 starters that I've faded quite a bit down the stretch this season. Zimmerman started off the season strong for the Orioles, and now his ERA is up to 4.87, and I think there's actually even more room to regress. He's not striking out batters, giving up a ton of base hits and home runs. He's given up 9 total home runs in his last 3 outings combined, at least 1 home run in 4 of his last 5. In his last 4 starts, 5 earned runs, 6 earned runs, 4 earned runs, 5 earned runs. So I think the Royals, a team that's definitely improving offensively, I think they're going to be able to get to Zimmerman in this spot. On the other side, Jonathan Heasley, although his start wasn't too bad against the Astros last time out, he still got 9 base runners, 3 earned runs, and a homer in 6 innings. And he's given up at least 1 homer in his last 3 starts as well. 3 earned runs in his last 4 starts overall. Not striking out a lot of batters. The walks have been an issue at times. Actually, the walks have been a big issue. He's allowed more walks, 18, than he's earned strikeouts, 15. So I think both teams get on the board early and often. We know both of these teams' bullpens have struggled this season as well, especially the Orioles' bullpen on the road this year. and I'm going to take the over in the Orioles-Royals game. Next up, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the Houston Astros. We're going to see Pablo Lopez and Luis Garcia on the mound for this one. Now, Pablo Lopez has been susceptible to the long ball lately. Gave up 3 home runs to the Rays, a home run last time out in his most recent outing. And I do think against the Astros, a pretty powerful team against right-handed pitching, Lopez is in trouble in this spot. And we've seen Lopez in the last 5 starts that he's had. The Marlins have lost 4 of those 5 starts. So even though Lopez has the really good ERA and has missed some bats with good strikeout numbers, it just hasn't been a winner for Miami. And the Astros, a very powerful lineup like I just mentioned. I think they're going to be able to find a couple long balls, especially at home. Marlins have really struggled away from home this season with a well below 500 record at 10-16. Astros, even though they lost their last series against the Mariners at home, still 7 games above 500 at home this season. I'm going to take the Astros in this spot with Garcia on the mound. I think they get the job done on the money line. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Minnesota Twins. Now, both of these teams have had a lot of success this season, but I think they're polar opposites. Tampa Bay Rays, more pitcher-friendly team, pitcher-focused team. The offense hasn't done much. We know there's been some injuries to guys like Brandon Lau, Wander Franco. We know that there's a lot of subtractions in the offseason, guys like Austin Meadows and Nelson Cruz. But the offense really hasn't done much this season. The pitching has been fantastic, both in the starting rotation and the bullpen, and that's why the Rays are off to such a strong start to the year. On the other side, Minnesota Twins, very offensive-focused team. The pitching staff, I think the bullpen is one of the worst in baseball right now. The starting rotation's okay, but they've also dealt with some injuries, but some guys that I think have a lot of regression to worry about, like Archer and Bundy. So, the Twins are just getting it done because they're scoring more runs than the opposition, and we've seen that from Minnesota in the last couple seasons. So I think this is going to be a really fun series with 2 teams that just play different styles of baseball, and I'm going to lean towards the offensive-heavy Twins team here. Devin Smeltzer's pitched good enough for me to back him in this spot. Do I think he's going to regress? Sure. He's not going to be able to hold a sub-2 ERA this season. We already saw it last time out, giving up 2 home runs. But in 3 of his last 4 starts, the Twins have won those ball games, and he's still pitching well enough. He's getting some strikeouts, which I had worried about in recent seasons in his career. And I think, as long as he can hold down the fort for that Twins bullpen, I think Minnesota has a good chance here. And Drew Rasmussen, a guy that gives up a good amount of home runs, very high average exit velocity and hard hit percentage, which I don't like to see. And I think with guys like Buxton and Correa getting back into the lineup and starting to get hot, it's going to be a tough start for Rasmussen. So I'm going to take a lean here with the Twins getting the plus money at home. I'm going to take a shot with them on the money line. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Chicago White Sox. We're going to see Glenn Otto and Davis Martin on the mound for this one. This is probably my least favorite game on the board, but I am just going to take a small lean with the Chicago White Sox. This is just a pure fade of Glenn Otto right now. Bottom 9th percentile in expected ERA, bottom 12th percentile in expected slugging, giving up a lot of walks, not striking out a lot of batters, giving up hard contact as well. I do think there's a lot of regression to worry about in Glenn Otto's game, even past his 4.24 ERA right now. I know the White Sox haven't done much against righties this season. I think they do enough to get the win in this spot, though. Give me Chicago on the money line, but not my favorite game on the board. Next up, we see the St. Louis Cardinals hosting the Cincinnati Reds. Luis Castillo and Andre Pallante on the mound for the Cardinals. It's Pallante or Pallante, however you want to pronounce it, but I do think the Cardinals are in trouble in this spot. We see they're only slight favorites at home here, which you'd be surprised as the Cardinals 32-26 this year, Reds 20-37. Pretty big discrepancy in records right now, and the Cardinals are only minus 125, minus 130 in spots. That's a little bit of a red flag in my opinion, and I think the biggest reason is the books do not trust in this Cardinals bullpen, and I agree with them. Andre Pallante, he's going to go 3-4 innings at the most, but the Cardinals bullpen's going to have to take over the rest, and although they've got solid closers and holders at the end of that bullpen, guys like Helsley and Cabrera and Gallegos, I don't trust the middle end guys and the early relief guys. They've been some of the worst in baseball in my opinion, and Luis Castillo has improved his game. It's really hard for a pitcher to come into the middle of the season after an injury, but he's done a pretty good job. He's missing bats. The walks have been a problem at times, but overall, I think the value's here on the underdog. This is obviously a big-time rivalry series. I think the Reds take game 1 in this set, so give me Cincinnati on the money line. Next up, we see the New York Mets taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Tylor Megill looks to be making his return to the mound, and he'll be facing Michael Lorenzen. Now, the line's not officially out for this game, so we could see a pitching change if I had to guess, it's probably whether McGill's going to start today or maybe tomorrow later on in the week. But if he does get the start here, I do like the Mets' chances against Lorenzen. Lorenzen at 3.69 ERA, but I don't think that's going to hold up for too much longer. And the Mets have been really good against right-handed pitching this season. Lorenzen's coming off a start against the Phillies where he gave up 5 earned runs, and now he's given up 8 earned runs in his last 2 starts with 7 walks allowed in that stretch also. The Mets are the type of team to make you pay if you put runners on base. They're a very sneaky team, and they're number 2 in baseball in team OPS against righties, so I do think they will have a lot of offensive success. And the Angels' offense hasn't done much. Obviously, with Trout out of the lineup now, it's even tougher for them to get anything done offensively. And, Tyler McGill, he pitched really well at the beginning of the season, struggled as he was getting injured towards the end of his last couple outings. But I think if he comes back and pitches the way we saw in the beginning of the year, there's not really any better options for the Mets in this rotation. So I'm going to take the New York Mets here on the money line. I think they get the job done in LA. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the San Diego Padres. Chad Cole and Joe Musgrove on the mound for this one. To me, this is a big-time pitching mismatch, and we know the Rockies really struggle on the road. I'm going to take the Padres on the run line here. Java Joe Musgrove, 6-0 with a 1.64 ERA. Chad Cole was pitching well for the Rockies at the beginning of the season. He was starting to really struggle at times in the middle of May. He sharpened up quite a bit in his recent starts, but can't trust him on the road here. Doesn't really strike out a ton of batters. The walks have been an issue at times. Even the home run ball, which is something that Cole has limited throughout his career, has also plagued him, giving up at least 1 homer in 3 of his last 5 starts. So I'm going to take the Padres on the run line here. Not a lot of value in this game as the Padres are big favorites in this one, but give me San Diego on the run line. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the Seattle Mariners. We're going to see Rich Hill and Marco Gonzalez on the mound for this one. This is a pretty interesting series, in my opinion. These two teams just played each other at Fenway Park. The Red Sox dominated that series. They swept the series in 4, but there was a lot of games in that series where the Mariners had a really good chance at least winning 1 or 2 games. Big leads that were blown in that one, and that just goes to show the Seattle team has really struggled on the road this season, but they are above 500 at home this year, and I do think they have a beneficial pitching matchup here. I know Marco Gonzalez, not a guy I back too often, but I do think Rich Hill is the worst option. And Seattle's starting to get some swagger back offensively. We've seen their lineup do a lot of good things against the Astros in that series, and they picked up 2 big wins as plus money dogs in that one. The line's not officially out for this game quite yet, so we'll have to see what price we're going to get with Seattle. But if we're getting plus money, which I would think we are because the Red Sox current win streak, I think it's pretty valuable to take the Mariners in this spot. So I'm going to take Seattle on the money line here. Not my favorite game on the board, but I do think there is some value in Seattle's game at home. In our final game of the night, we see the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the San Francisco Giants. I love when these two teams meet. It's always a pretty fun and exciting series. We saw last year one of these teams won 107 games, the other 106. We saw an exciting playoff series between these two that ended in a controversial ending. And now we're going to see Walker Buehler and Jakob Yunis on the mound for this contest. To be honest with you, I do think there is something wrong with Walker Buehler and his game right now. His fastball has actually been one of the worst pitches in baseball compared to all of the pitchers out in the game, starting pitching-wise. You can take a metric on how effective a starting pitcher and their specific pitches are, and Buehler's fastball is in the top 5 worst out of all the pitchers in the league. And it just goes to show you he's just not finding the location for his fastball. In the beginning of the season, his velocity was way down in his 4-seamer. In his last start, the velocity was there against the Mets, but he just didn't know where to put that ball. And he's been able to get to pretty good counts on hitters, 0-2, 1-2, but just not be able to put them away. Teams are just not even thinking about his off-speed stuff, just looking for that fastball, and they've been able to crush it, just like the New York Mets did. 5 earned runs, 2 homers in that start. The Pittsburgh Pirates, of all teams, 4 earned runs, 2 home runs to start previous. So there's just no way right now that I can take Walker Buehler. I do think eventually he will sharpen up, but that's just not right now. So give me the San Francisco Giants. Jakob Yunis has been good enough for me to take a crack with the Giants in this one on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday, June 10th. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at Pickdawgz.com. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.